Hey, this is Shona from She's Got Assets. I'm gonna do a live stream here about optimizing your midterm rental listing. I just need to do a few things on the back end. So, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm just gonna get a few things going and then I'm hopefully gonna launch into this. It's just a couple clicks on the back end, so bear with me. It's always fun tech thing. If you are joining me, let me know where you're tuning in from. And I'm gonna see if I can get live on Facebook. That's always the one that's difficult. Okay. See if this works. My mouse is having kind of a moment today. I think it's low on battery. Okay, we're gonna go live. Okay, looks like it's starting. Fingers crossed. Okay, I think I'm live. Hey everyone, if you're just tuning in, this is Shona from She's Got Assets. I'm gonna do a little live stream tonight. Had a busy day, so I didn't put a deck together, but we're gonna do some kind of optimizing tips. I was just working with some students, so I was like, hey, this would be a good topic. So, if you can see me and hear me, let me know. Again, we're going to do a live stream on how to optimize your listing. I'm actually going to share my screen and just kind of go over some tips and tricks that I think will really help you. We can't cover everything, that we can certainly do some training. So I'm just going to do a quick note. Again, if you can see me and hear me, type a one, maybe let me know where you're calling in from. And if you have a midterm rental, how about that? And I super appreciate any kind of hearts or comments, just so I know that you're out there. Hey, Vicky, good evening. Kel- I'm going to mispronounce this. Keltom, sorry if I mispronounced that. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I really appreciate it. I know we're all busy, but I'm hopefully going to add some value tonight. So I'm just going to do a quick comment. So yeah, I see a few other people on here again. If you can't hear me or see me, hey Monica for Kentucky, hey Vicky from Michigan, Sarah from Arizona, awesome from all over the place. Yay. Okay, I'm gonna give people a few minutes, let the algorithm kind of let everyone know that we're doing this. Hey Hilda from Illinois, nice. Kentucky, I love it, Monica. Thank you for joining. Yeah, well, in the meantime, let me know. I'm curious if you guys have midterm rentals or if you have any specific like optimizing questions. I think it's a pretty meaty topic. And I'm excited to share some tips and tricks. So I'm going to just share, I'm going to get my screen ready. In the meantime, feel free to chime in and I'll just get my screen ready to share. So I'm going to share my one Airbnb listing. Okay. Whoops. Okay. All right, that actually went live. I didn't mean for that to go live. So, okay, can everyone like see my screen? Let me know. Awesome. Hey, Heather, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so um, hey, Joy from California, you guys keep letting me know that you're here as I'm giving you tips and tricks. Just chime in, let me know your like key takeaways. It really helps, keeps me engaged, lets me know that you're listening. Give me some hearts or some feedback. I super appreciate it. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about midterm rental optimizing. I was just working directly with some coaching students and giving them some like really specific feedback. Hey, Brad from Winlock, Washington, awesome. So yeah, so I on this call I can't go over everything. I do cover a lot of this in the midterm rental playbook course, and I work one-on-one with students like very specifically wherever they're at in the process. But there's a lot of things that kind of come up consistently, and I'm like, this would be a good thing to kind of coach and teach on just really generally. And if you need more help, like definitely reach out. It's a really quick call, and I'll see if I can help you. If not, I'll just leave you with some advice. But I think there's a lot of value in kind of one-on-one coaching and just getting the recipe that I use to get these like really juicy leads that you see me posting a lot about. Um, so I'm going to kind of just go over one listing. I see a comment here. Sarah's saying you're a realtor in Arizona and always looking for great nuggets. Awesome. So appreciate that. Hey, Danielle. Hey, Catherine. Okay, awesome. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. So I'm just going to start really high level here and we're going to kind of do a deeper dive into this. So the first thing I want to call out is like the title, right? This is not like perfect. It says 3-bedroom modern home, long stays and pets welcome. It's just not saying come relax in a beautiful modern home with an open floor plan and tons of amenities, right? With midterm rentals, 30 plus day stays, right? Like people are coming for from a month to a couple months, hopefully a couple months if we do our marketing right. So they're there to live and work and have a home away from home. They are not there for pickleball courts or a cold plunge or an Instagram wall. Like they're very much there to come and live and work. That's what we're highlighting. So in this title, we want to be really specific. Like, what are some amenities? It can be like dedicated workspace. I always like to include pet friendly, long stays or extended stays. That lets people know like instantly. This is specifically an Airbnb, right? There's nuance to all the platforms that we cover in the course, but right now I'm talking just about Airbnb. And the reason is when you think of Airbnb, like I heard this analogy from someone recently. It's like Airbnb is like kind of saying like Q-tip. It's not really a Q-tip. That's the brand name. So people think of Airbnb as like, I don't know if that came across right, but anyway, like people think of Airbnb as very much short term, like vacation, even though they do midterm, like a couple day stays, like so a lot of and a lot of guests, right? They're on here and they're super booked up, right? And their calendar is booked. And Airbnb hosts don't. A lot of if they're not savvy, they're not looking for longer stays. They're looking for those like couple day bookings, right? So that's why we really want to emphasize that we are looking for longer stays, extended stays, and we're really saying that initially in the headline, right? So have a very descriptive headline. You don't want all the fluffy, like come hang out in our, luxury home that's not very descriptive. So we're trying to be as descriptive as possible. And again, I really like to say like pet friendly, extended stays, long stays welcome, right? I'm calling that out from the get-go so people really know what that's our model. So let me know if in the chat if that like makes sense, if you kind of get that. It's like different than a vacation one. And if you are doing the hybrid model, there's certain strategies around that that we teach in the course, and that's very different. But this is specifically like midterm related, right? So the next thing I really want to highlight is like these 5 photographs up here, right? These are kind of like your key photos. I look at a lot of listings and it's like I don't think we really realize it. Like there's 5 pictures of the bedroom, or they're all of the same room, right? We really want to showcase the best parts of the property. Like we want to show a living room, a bedroom, a kitchen, right? All of these things in it. So we're making sure that this is visually really appealing. And there's a certain way to do this in Airbnb. Just go arrange your photos that we really, cognizant of how you are like displaying your photos up here. And I like to add like a QR code, like I have a template in the course for like a video tour or a virtual tour, whatever you want to call it. But be really careful that you make sure to preview your listing and see what it actually looks like from the front end. Because as people are scrolling, we really want to showcase the best pictures. Also, I think I feel like I sound like a broken record. We really want to emphasize quality photos, professional photos, right? So important. I mean, don't let that stop you from getting your listing up, but it's super important to have good quality photos. I've even had like properties reshot because I didn't like the photos, right? So that's super important. Nice and bright and airy, and we want a cozy vibe, right? So that's the photos. And then, kind of scrolling down, I'm gonna see if this should work if I scroll. Yeah, so scrolling down, right? I'm gonna highlight a couple key things here, right? So, we're saying modern home just blocks from the location. We're kind of calling out some major attractions in the area because we really want more of a B2B business model, right? And we're saying like dedicated office, right? These are all keywords: dedicated office, fully stocked kitchen, high-speed internet, fenced yard, pet friendly, home away from home, right? A deal for temporary stays, right? So these are all, if anyone knows, does anyone know what like SEO is, like search engine optimization. I'm gonna hide a comment here. Search engine optimization is essentially like when you're typing something into Google, you want to get found for that, right? So that's what we're doing in these listings. We're really kind of sprinkling in keywords or things that people are looking for. We're not saying like come relax in our hot tub and have a drink and walk the neighborhood. It's really what are the amenities that people are going to want for a longer stay, like all inclusive, dedicated workspace, high speed Wi-Fi, right? So that's what we're kind of putting in the top level of the listing, right? And then I've noticed some people in Airbnb, it's a little confusing. There is a character limit in this like upper part of the listing, right? But just make sure there's another part of the listing where it's not restricted. You can put as much copy as you want. So if I hit show more, right, it's called about the space, right? That's where we can really be a little more specific. One thing I actually didn't do here, but I need to do is I typically will say at my company name, Cedar and Porch Properties, I'm always sprinkling that fairly heavily into the description. I should have done that here. And the idea is that savvy guests or, temporary housing providers, they can go Google you and find you. And there's ways to do that, right? But you want to sprinkle your company name into the listing so that people can go find you. I've gotten a lot of direct bookings that way. So that's a really good tip. So, right. And then I kind of like to go into a very bulleted style list. I don't like flowery descriptions. Okay, I'm gonna stop for a second. Catherine's asking, what is a QR code? So a QR code, it kind of became popular in COVID. It's just basically an image that you can take a picture with your phone and it'll actually direct you to a link. So in this case, I use Canva. Like if you're in my course, I have a Canva template, and basically just what I coach students to do is just upload a video to like YouTube. We do it in a certain way, right? So that people can watch the video because you can't otherwise add a video link to your Airbnb listing. So it's just a fancy way of getting a link without having to type in all that gobbledygook code. Like you've probably seen it on like restaurant menus and stuff. And I think we're all kind of conditioned after COVID, especially just to hold up our camera, right? Take the picture and then get the thing to load. So it's a great, just kind of a cheating way of getting someone to look at the code. So really good question. I'm glad you asked that. Okay. Any other questions on this so far? Okay. So again, we're really trying to I like to do my descriptions kind of like, high level overview. And I'm always kind of noodling on these, and don't get caught up in having the perfect description. I was just working with a couple of students today, right? Like we want to get it out there, we want to get it good. And ChatGPT is a great tool. Like in the course, I have very specific ChatGPT prompts to help you kind of get this farther along, or you can just use ChatGPT yourself, but don't get hung up in having the perfect thing. But like we're basically really emphasizing extended stays, long stays, pet friendly. So I'm going to just go through this list and kind of talk to how I'm highlighting these things, right? Fully furnished, all the comforts of home, work from home ready, dedicated office, right? I actually just got a review, and this is my first review where someone's like, it was great for work from home because I had an extra monitor in my house floating around, so I stuck it in this rental because I was furnishing it, and I got a sit stand desk, right? And I'm like, I don't know if anyone else would want this, but I think it's a nice amenity. And they actually commented on that, which was very gratifying, right? So think about the guest experience, right? Sit stand desks are not that expensive on Amazon. It's almost just as much as a regular desk. So I think I would always go with a sit stand desk. Like you just hit the button, go up and down, an extra monitor, make sure you have the cable there, right? Like think of all those details, but most people are working from home these days or have maybe some home days, right? Fast internet, like at least a gig. Most people have that. You just want to call it out because don't make assumptions. You also can go and test it from your listing, so it will show up there. Highlight things like attached garage. This is, if we were in short term, we wouldn't be highlighting there's a garage, like because people don't care where they're parking their car for 2 days. But with midterm, if you're emphasizing like attached garage, I put EV charger. I don't have one, but I put it there. If that's someone really wants that and they're paying me a premium, I'll go put one in, right? I'll make that happen. I have a great electrician, right? Pet friendly with a private yard. I can't stress enough, like the pet friendly and the fenced yard. Those are like the biggest requests I get, right? Gourmet kitchen, quartz countertops. We're talking about the bedrooms, right? We're saying what kind of bed it has. I always recommend a king size bed, right? And then go down from there. If you can have two, that's great, but at least one king is great. And I think I mentioned this the other day. I always like to do, if I have a 3 bedroom, I will typically want to do 1 bedroom as a dedicated office, since I often have just 2 people staying. They don't need 3 bedrooms. They're often working from home, and it actually saves on the furnishing, right? That's kind of what I do typically. So you guys let me know if any of this is resonating. It's really helpful for me to know if you're getting any good takeaways. Okay. And then, outdoor space, like covered patio, right? Cozy amenities. This one happens to have radiant floor heating, right? Which is super fancy and expensive, which I don't love that, but it's really cozy. Laundry room, right? And I'm just kind of local amenities. I'm mentioning like where it is. Close by local employers, right? I'm kind of calling out major employers because somebody might be typing into Airbnb, they're working at this place, right? So I'm kind of highlighting that. And you can use you can use ChatGPT to say, give me a list of local, you know, uh, industries in the area next to my rental, right? And then this is really important, like definitely screenshot this, use some version of it. I'm saying again, like at my company name, I usually like to sprinkle this a little bit more, and I didn't do that. Or whatever your company name is, schedule a tour. A lot of times families that have been displaced with insurance claims will want to see the property. I've got someone, I've noticed though, not all the time. I've had a few bookings where they're doing it sight unseen, which is nice, but typically they're going to want to see it. So let them know they can see it. Mention where you're located, say fully furnished, all the comforts of home. Again, we're emphasizing flexible lease term, short term to extended long term stays, right? We're just seeding this in there. We're really branding ourselves as we cater to these kind of guests, right? Traveling medical professionals, remote workers, pet owners, corporate housing, and those facing relocation or displacement. And then we're saying specifically we work directly with temporary housing and insurance companies and policyholders, right? So we're just speaking that language. So when a policyholder sees us, when a temporary housing company sees us, they're like, oh, they get it, right? They're going to be easy to work with. So that's really important. And then I usually like to kind of spell out these different amenities again. And I always like to put a note about the pricing can be a little bit seasonal depending on length of stay, right? If someone wants to, I get them off platform and they want to come for a month, well, it's going to be higher than what I've listed at typically, right? Because that's a lot less of a lease. So that is my like very high level optimizing. Again, I typically work with students directly to really dial in their listing, and I have a lot more in the course. Like there's a lot of variance between like an Airbnb and a furnished finder listing and pricing and all of that stuff. So I have like calculators for all of that and all the templates for like ChatGPT. So if you feel like you need more hand holding or you want the exact recipe that I use to like get in front of insurance companies, temporary housing, more the B2B model, definitely reach out. Um, so yeah, Jennifer's asking, do I post pricing? Well, in Airbnb, you have to have a price, right? I mean, you can't list without that. Yes, you do need to always have a price. It's just I'm always saying it depends on seasonality and length of stay, right? Because a lot of times insurance will come in and want a shorter stay. We're trying to stay as close as we can to that price, but if they want a much shorter stay, we're definitely going to negotiate that, right? Because we're kind of taking in, it's just kind of like a tiered model. It's just like if you rent month to month versus a year lease, it's always different, right? Or if you buy software, you're getting a discount for the annual subscription versus month to month, right? That's just always a discount. That's the same thing with midterms. So great question. Um, and I can pop this in the chat too if anyone wants to see this link. I know I always like to kind of have things to look at for reference. So I'm going to share this. And again, if anyone is interested in the coaching programs, the midterm rental playbook, just let me know. We could jump on a call. I can see kind of where you're at, where that gap is. If you would, if I can help you, we can talk about next steps. So I'm going to share this link. Um, Okay, Tatiana, you're asking where does the QR take you to? So it takes you to, I have it going to a video tour. I've had it up for a while. I think it's okay. I mean, I think if they're getting savvier. The police haven't got me with Airbnb. I've heard two schools of thought, but that it's not okay and that it is okay. I think it's kind of at your own risk, but I think it's really helpful because the video tour really helps people see what it looks like. So I think it's okay, but like the algorithm changes constantly, right? Um, so just do your research. But I've had it up for a while, and people really seem to appreciate it, right? Because it's hard to exchange information that kind of gets them. Do you want to get them off platform? Like I love Airbnb, but I also love direct bookings, right? So um, I will share a link really fast of what that looks like, what it takes you to. Let me just pull that up really fast. And I cover this a lot more in the course, but I'll just share really fast kind of what videos auto playing. Okay. Oh dear, I'm going to remove the screen share because that's not really helpful. So I'm going to share if anyone is interested what that QR looks like. And again, I coach students on this in the course, like kind of how to do it, but I'm going to share the link. So that particular QR goes to let's see if I can find it on the fly here. Anyone is curious. Where is it? See. Okay, this is a different property, but I'm just going to show you it just for reference, right? What it kind of looks like. Share. Copy link. So yeah, so this is what it looks like. I'll put it in the Facebook comments. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you know what, Erin, that is such a great tip. I didn't mention that. It's really good if you have a listing to kind of, if you want to get found. Another kind of optimizing tip is to have the more like hearts you get, the more it shows the algorithm that you're popular, right? So definitely ask your friends to heart it. I also think kind of making some tweaks to your posting, like changing the copy every once in a while, changing your prices, like use a dynamic pricing tool. I talk about that in the course, right? Anything to kind of get the algorithm to kind of bump it up in the algorithm to show that you're being active, right? So um, thank you again, Erin. That's awesome. Jennifer's asking what percent does one typically pay Airbnb or Facebook to post any lower cost options? Okay, well, in marketing, right, you want to be where the eyeballs are, and everyone's on Airbnb. So you pay their fees, you build it into your pricing. Like, do not skip on that. Furnish Finder, you're right. So I cannot emphasize enough. I think you have to be on Airbnb. There's ways to get people off platform, but it is where all the eyeballs are. That's where temporary housing goes. There's ways to optimize it to get people off platform. So basically, you're not paying for them, but they do spend a lot of money on marketing, right? And that's where people typically look. It's one of the top places I coach students on listing. So it's high up on my list. Like in the course, I have I think of like 80 places that I want you to list on, kind of in the order of importance. So when you join the course, I kind of give you that whole recipe and coach you on that. But I would say it's really important. And that's the other reason on like midterm, right? We're not paying Airbnb constantly for like constant like 2 to 3 day stays, right? We're getting people in for longer, and they do charge a fee, right? They're charging for their marketing and their services, right? So just price your rentals accordingly is what I would say, right? I hope that answered your question. um Yes, there are lots of startup costs, but like, when you're starting at being in the right places and optimizing and knowing what you're doing can like be the difference in like getting a booking or staying vacant, right? So I work with people and we put them up in certain places and they can get a booking right away. Sometimes it takes a minute, but it's so important to know where to list and how to optimize. Um, so Aaron, you're asking pets are key. Yeah, I feel like everyone seems to be afraid of cats. I don't know. I think it's maybe the cat pee or scratching or something. You're welcome, Jennifer. I don't know what it is. Like I love cats. I know there's a big fear of cats. I say protect yourself, right? Like definitely I cover this in the course. Like definitely charge the right fees and deposits so you're comfortable with it. Maybe get some extra insurance. When you think about it, a lot of people have pets, right? And so if you're getting like, here's an example, like a 9K booking. I have a one of my rentals that's a 9K plus booking. They've got two cats. Guess what? We put a couch cover on it, and they seemed very responsible. So I allow cats. Everyone has to kind of decide for themselves. And if it's like an ESA, like a service animal, obviously we don't have a choice anyway. So I allow pets, and especially with displaced families, I've gotten requests for like a lizard or chickens or things are going to come up because these are homeowners, right? And they're part of your family. And if you don't allow pets, you're going to miss out on a lot of bookings, I think, but do what's kind of comfortable for you. Um, but I don't know if there's like bad cat stories out there or something, but I hear about a lot about cats. I personally accept them. Yeah, I have stories about all animals. I feel like mostly I deal with some dog pee on occasion on carpets. I hate carpets, but some rentals have it. So that's my thing on cats. A little tip on cats. Someone told me you can get like some kind of like ozone, not ozone plug-in, some kind of pheromone plug-in. I haven't tried it, but they're saying if they know a cat's coming, they plug that in. It kind of so the cats don't spray or something. I have not tried it. I'm just passing it on if that helps. Allergies, yeah. I mean, but yeah. So people do have allergies, but I don't know if there's a difference between cats and dogs. There probably is. So just do follow your guidelines. Just know that if it's like an ESA, we really have no choice, right? So okay. There was a question about Price Lab. Yeah, I like Price Labs. I think it helps just kind of you can set different metrics in there and stuff, and they have really great support. So I definitely recommend Price Labs for kind of pricing your things like seasonally or you're doing the hybrid strategy. So yeah. Really good questions tonight. Any other questions? I've got a few more minutes. Hope that was helpful. Again, I shared the link, and if you guys are interested in learning more about the coaching program, when I do these live trainings, I can't go into all the details or really get into the nitty gritty. But my goal with the program is to really help you get booked quickly to maximize your cash flow without all the constant turnover, short-term rentals, and we do like weekly calls, one-on-one calls. So it's really comprehensive. I don't know any other programs that actually offer one-on-one coaching, and I'm still small enough to do that. So that's kind of one of the benefits. But And I have a couple different ways to work with me. So definitely, reach out. We can jump on a call and see what you're looking for and if it might be a good fit. Oh, you're so welcome, Erin. Thank you. But any other questions? Anything for any optimizing chats? We're just essentially trying to think of like, who is our guest? What are they going to be looking for? We're not optimizing for vacation rentals. Just make your listing very basic. Don't make it too flowery. I see, I see you can tell when Chat GPT wrote something because it's like very embellished, very flowery. It just sounds kind of unnatural, I think, right? So we want to sound human. We want to make the place sound nice, but in a more practical way. What would somebody want coming there? What would a family want that's been displaced by a flood or a fire? Flood or a fire? I can't talk, right? Brad Kelly, if you answer my question. I can't see the previous comments, Brad. So if you want to repost it, I know it's silly. I just when I'm live streaming for some reason, I can't see the older comments. It acts kind of weird. It just doesn't so if you want to repost it, I'm happy to answer. It's just something about the live stream. See a little bit of spam going on. I'll take care of that after the call as well. I see you spammers. So yeah, I will kick you out of the group. But just ignore the spam. Any other, yeah, Brad, if you want to answer, if you want to ask that question again, or I'll go back afterwards and kind of check it. I just couldn't see it. Did I post the link? Did I not post the link to the link to the Airbnb listing or the link to learn more about coaching? I don't know which one it was. I'm assuming it was the link. I may have gotten distracted. So if I did, I apologize. I will post it again. This is a link to the Airbnb listing as an example, right? And another tip here, like you can see this is like a pretty URL, right? It has like it's kind of, Portland temporary housing. You can do that in Airbnb so you don't get that huge long URL. It's just basically like a shortcut URL. It's like a pretty URL. So it's kind of nice for sharing, right? But yeah, I think all these little tweaks all kind of add up and help you get found for those lucrative leads. And there's a lot of other ways to do marketing that we talk about in the course, but I think these things can really make the difference. And being in the right places and having the good pictures and working on your description, it all really adds up. So any other questions? Okay, Rod, thanks for posting your question again. Okay, Brad, no problem. I'm curious the average lease stay when working with an insurance company. Yes, that's a great question. Okay, so I'll be was it ranges anywhere from like a month, which, right, that sounds really short. We're like, I don't just want a month booking, but guess what? They're in their home because their home was being rehabbed. And we all know, much as I love contractors, they are never on time, right? They are never, ever, rarely on time, right? Let's say that. If there's any GCs in here, don't get mad at me. Basically, so they will often come in and say like, hey, we've got a family of two cats and a dog and we want a month. And I'm like, okay, I'm almost trying to suss out, do you know what kind of damage? Was it like a fire? Was it a flood? I know if it's well, typically a fire, they wouldn't say a month, right? If it's a fire, we're probably looking at 6 months. If it's water damage, it's a couple months. But and if it's a month, I'm going to say, well, I've listed at this price. Typically, I'm going to charge a little bit more. I don't want to price gouge, but a little bit more for a month, right? Just because that's kind of a shorter stay. And they typically will always extend. So there's no easy answer. I would say it depends on the damage, but anywhere from like 1 to like probably at the most 4 months. And here's the thing, the adjusters don't want to approve a longer stay. They're trying to be conscious of their budget. So they might just approve 1 month and then extend kind of as needed because they don't want to get booked for 2 months and then the family moves out in a month and they're paying for another month of rent, right? That's kind of where they're coming from. So it really depends, but I'm not scared off by 1 month. I just kind of, I just charge a little bit of a premium for it. And with my tiered pricing, and I have like a temporary housing proposal in the course that I walk I walk students through, we're kind of explaining our tiered pricing model and all the fees and everything like that. So really just depends on the type of claim, right? But typically it's a couple months and sometimes they extend. I would say average is probably 2 to 3 extensions per family. I typically don't book guests behind a family that's been displaced because I feel like we're in the hospitality business. I want them to have the option to extend. I will check in with them like 45 to 30 days, right? And to say, how's it going? Do they want to extend? And then I will, plan accordingly, right? But typically they will extend, especially if they're coming in for a month. I mean, I've had an occasional 1 month stay. It does happen, but typically they're gonna stay longer. That was a very long answer, but I hope that was helpful. Obviously, I could talk about this all day. You're welcome. Okay, perfect. Yeah. I'm curious, has anyone in the chat like hosted an insurance claim? I think we talk about it a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of steps. There's a lot of pieces. It's a process. And I think that's kind of why having a coach is helpful because you sometimes you get a lead, you don't know how to negotiate it, you don't know the process, and you could lose a lead because you're not negotiating the right way or being easy to work with, right? You really want to be easy to work with and just build that. It's all about relationships, right? And that's super important. With it's more of the B2B model, right? We're from versus B2C, business to consumer, right? That's just the difference, the nuance there, and we're kind of building our business like that. So very important to kind of understand how to work these bookings and how to know when you have an insurance lead and explain it to the families because they often haven't been through this and they're going through, it's just really traumatic to be in a hotel and you're had fire in your house, or whatever, and you can't live there and you're staying in a hotel and you're just in between things. So families have been through a lot. So we always want to keep that in mind first and foremost, that we are helping people and, it's really a win-win that we are helping out families and they're usually like so grateful. And it's such a good feeling to, um, have them stay. I just had two insurance claims move out and they were like so grateful and they left the space like so nice. You couldn't even tell they were there, right? Which is unlike short-term rentals where there's often parties and people are there for vacation or long-term rentals where they sometimes don't want to clean ever, which is always surprising. It's fine, but I find midterm guests are very respectful and they leave the places like just, you can barely tell they're even there for the most part. Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. You got your independent gesture. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a really interesting topic because if you guys don't know this, and Jennifer, feel free to like chime in. Like, my understanding is like, when a family files a claim, they have an adjuster from their insurance, and that adjuster is not necessarily looking out for their best interest or looking out for the insurance claim. And so you can actually get an independent adjuster, right? And they're going to advocate for you. And my understanding is they're paid like on a commission, but they're going to advocate you and get you a much better like kind of settlement from insurance. So Jennifer, like if chime in if I got that wrong, but I think it's a good thing to know about. And even if you're working with a family and their adjusters they're typically very slow, their sense of urgency is not always mine. And so I think an independent adjuster is a really great thing to have. I actually had a claim recently with an independent adjuster. And let me tell you, that was the smoothest process. That was like approved right away. There was no back and forth. We weren't like twiddling our thumbs for a couple of days while the adjuster decided if the proposal was approved. So, Jennifer, I'm really glad you brought that up because I don't think a lot of people even know that's a thing. Independent adjusters. I think you have the right to have one. If you have a claim, you don't have to go with the adjuster that you get with your insurance. So, yes, Jennifer, we should chat offline because I would love to maybe have you on as a guest and talk about that just for educational purposes. I want to learn more, and I think that a lot of people just don't even know that's a thing. But I think, especially if if you have any kind of major damage, you're probably going to be much better off when it's an independent adjuster. Like, let's hope we never have to file claims, right? Knock on wood. But if you do, just know your options, right? A link for coaching. Yeah. I will put a link in to book a call. I typically like to book a call with people just to know, like, hey, like, what are you looking for? What's the best option? Can I even help you? Right. And we'll just kind of go over that stuff. So I'm gonna put a call. I'm gonna put when I'm talking too long, I don't make any sense. I'm gonna put a link to book a call with me and then we can kind of see what would be a good fit and just it's like just a discovery call. If I have so many links in my calendar. Let's see. Okay, let's hope I'm gonna hope this link works. Yeah, it just, just kind of I figure out where you're at, where you need to get to, and how I can help you. And if I can help you, we'll talk about the program options. I think this is the right one. Yeah, I have a couple spots this week. Okay. But yeah, I'm gonna pop a link in here. Yeah, Jennifer, it's interesting. I don't How did you hear about it? Because I think I was on a different call with Ruben Kanya. He talks about it. I'd never heard anyone else actually even talk about it. So I think it's a really important topic. Again, we're talking about independent adjusters, like for especially if like a family is maybe not getting the service or they're being kind of like just yeah, a lot of times adjusters, I think they're just overloaded, right? They just have a lot of cases. And again, they're not really advocating you. They're also looking out for the insurance company, right? So they can save money, right? So Yeah, really great questions tonight. Okay, so and Dora, I'll drop a link here too. I just put a link up there. Whoops, yeah, I just clicked on the wrong thing. But yeah, if anyone else has questions, I have a few. Okay, Aaron, thank you for a small question. What's your fully stock? I know fully stocked sounds a little bit like what does that mean? Okay, it is like an STR. It's like, my definition of that is like, can I come in and like, can I make a bowl of pasta? Is there a strainer? Is there like a can opener, a wine opener, right? It's all of the basics like pots and pans, and I have a full list in the course. What it is not, it's not like super high end. Like we want to have nice appliances, but you don't need to have like, yes, it's not. I like to have a coffee maker, and again, I have a list on the course and like a toaster, but I'm not putting in like I'm not putting a high end coffee maker. Again, these are not vacation kitchens or like kind of the basics, right? I just saw Jennifer's comment. That's amazing. They're just like kind of the basics. Can I come in and make a nice dinner? People are going to be cooking when they're there, but they're not going to like come in and make like you don't need like I guess a waffle maker. Like if you have extra stuff in your house, like bring it over there. But like I don't think you need like a rice maker or an Instapot. I mean, those are things are nice to have, but it's just can you come in, make a meal, make sure you have enough stuff for as many guests? Like if you've got, a 4 bedroom, make sure you have enough utensils, make sure you're checking them. Um, Making sure because things there's some wear and tear, right? Especially like with Teflon pans. I'll come in after a guest checks out and I'm like, oh my gosh, these have been through a bit, so I'm gonna replace them. So it's the basics of a kitchen and you can add nicer stuff. It's just not required. I hope that answered your question. But yeah, so fully stocked, not fancy though, right? My friend's daughter always calls at this time, so I'm gonna put my phone on silent, otherwise she'll keep calling. Okay, sorry about that. Jennifer's saying, yeah, you got 18K more in your claim with an independent adjuster. Yeah, like it totally independent adjusters, I think, are where it's at, especially for major damage. So if you have like maybe a family reach out and you're like, oh, I'm just curious, how's it going with your claim? If you didn't know, there are independent adjusters, right? We're helping educate people on that. So yeah, Aaron, just the basics, right? And I do have a list in the course, but what my biggest tip here is like if you want to, I'll stay in my MTR and I just set it up and I'll make a meal and then I'll realize kind of what I forgot. But just it's helpful. You don't have to. It's kind of fun too. But yeah, nothing fancy, just the basics. And then I always say, like, hey, if I miss something, you can just have it like Amazon dropped or whatever. Like, don't stress about it. Like, if someone really wants a certain pan, just have it shipped to them. Like, right, just let them know that. Check in and see how it's going. If you're worried about not having enough in your kitchen, just be like, hey, we just got this off the ground. If you need anything in the kitchen, especially, I've brought like irons over when I forgot them. Right, we can always do that, and I think it shows us going like the extra mile. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Toaster, coffee machine, kitchen, that stuff, right? Just the stuff. And I think we forget we haven't, we have had our kitchens for a while, but and you can get kind of sets from Amazon, right? With a lot of that stuff too. That's helpful, versus like hunting it down at Goodwill or something. I don't recommend that. I've done that, not worth it. So yeah, great questions, you guys. Would a townhouse work for an empty? That's a really good question. So, okay, every kind of property works. I have everything from a 1 bedroom to a studio, and I just got a lead for a 1 bedroom for like three. Their budget's 3K, which is surprising, right? So they all work. Townhouses, yes, it works. I think ideally single level, no stairs, but I have all kinds of properties. I mean, that totally works. I mean, I think the biggest amenities are like fenced yard, 3 bedrooms plus. So yeah, they all work. I'd have to see your property to see what I think, and it depends on like the location of it. But yes, townhouses work. I don't love HOAs. I'll be honest. They're not my favorite. Just know the regulations. Know like if you have to get pets approved, right? Just be cognizant of that. I think sometimes townhouses have HOAs, so that's the one thing that I don't love. Just know that. Jennifer's asking, would they take? Honestly, I in the midterm rental course, I have an addendum where I have you. It's kind of like a template. You fill everything out. In my experience, why I love midterms is things don't disappear. I've heard they disappear in short terms. Like I don't. If people are there for 3 months, they don't need to take your towels or your forks. Like sometimes it's more wear and tear than things disappearing. In my experience, I yeah, it's more that. And I was going to say something else. I just forgot. I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, things don't. And if they do disappear, that's why you have a deposit. You're like, you doc. If you, I don't do this, but if you're like, hey, you document, take pictures of everything. Like, if something major, you had the fancy coffee maker, it was in your furnished addendum, then yeah, like, hey, you took. But I just that's never been an issue, to be honest. But that's why we have a deposit, right? If anything goes missing or is damaged. Um, yeah, and condos, I think they're okay. I think the ideal MTR is something really versatile, like a single level with no stairs, but like all kinds of properties work. I just sometimes they're looking for no stairs or a primary bedroom on like the main level. So in my experience, all properties work. Just depends on the location if there's a need for that, right? So I don't love condos, but they definitely work, and it depends on who you're kind of going after as far as like, is it traveling medical professionals or digital nomads? Like families typically want like a single family, right? Because they're coming from a single family, and so they're going to want like a nice backyard. They're going to want a garage, off street parking. So everything works. Sometimes, yeah, you can get more for single family, but everything works, right? So just depends. But yeah, any other questions? I feel like we've been on for a while. Look, I love all the questions. Thanks, you guys. It's really fun if I can answer questions, not just make conversation. So yeah, any last questions before I sign off? I'm like happy to answer anything. Or if you're watching the replay, like feel free to comment, or if you're interested in coaching, like definitely reach out, see if I can help you at all. If not, no worries. And sometimes people I just need a little bit of optimizing, right? They kind of have a listing, they just need some optimizing. They're not listed in the right places, and that they just need some tweaking. And I have a product for that, right? If that's really what you're looking for. So all right. Well, I'm going to take off. I have a networking event, but thank you guys so much for tuning in and spending your Tuesday evening with me around dinner time. Really appreciate it. Again, if you're watching the replay, have questions, type a chat in. I see one more question. Brad's asking, you have a primary you're thinking of turning into an MTR 2-story 4-bed, 2.5 bath attached garage. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely ways to research that, I think it's helpful to be in a bigger city, with displaced families, right? You're always possibly going to have a need for that. I mean, bigger, the more of a population, the more kind of industry years, the more you're going to have demand. I mean, what you can do, I do it's a lot. You can throw up kind of a kind of a test listing, just even if you're still there. I've done this with properties before. Just throw it out there, test it. I have done this when I'm testing, do I want to go midterm or long term? And I talk about this in the course, but I've has helped me make my decision, right? So if you're really unsure, you can put up an ad. There's lots of ways to research it, right? Do your research to check demand, but that's kind of my favorite way. Doesn't cost anything, and you can really check demand. But it just depends on the population and demand. So yeah. Awesome. I will reach out to anyone that was interested in chatting more about the programs. But you're so welcome, everyone. Thanks for all the engagement. It's so much more fun when people ask questions. Really good questions, and some of this is nuance, right? Like I have got all kinds of properties, and all properties typically work. Sometimes you have to figure out kind of who you're marketing to, and that's the size of the property, right? Smaller properties are typically digital nomads, right? I like the bigger ones. We actually can charge more. That's more like the insurance claims, but all properties work. So there's just some nuance to it. Okay. Before I start rambling, I think I'm going to sign off, but thanks everyone so much for tuning in. Like, I really appreciate the questions and the engagement. Yeah, Brad, and reach out if you need help. Definitely, I've done that. I think we think sometimes putting up a listing means we have to rent something. I've done this a lot. Like during COVID, I'm like, let's see if we could rent our house out. And when we go on a trip, and we did it, and we got it booked, and I was a little bit shocked, right? But you can just test it out, right? I mean, if you're on the fence, that's like the most concrete way. There's all kinds of market research, but having an actual lead in your hand is very reassuring, right? If you're deciding on what to do. So yeah, awesome. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments. If you're watching the replay, just chime in, say hi. Yeah, awesome. Okay, I might see some of you at this local port. If you're in Portland, I might see you in a little bit. I'm going to jump in the car and head over. So all right, I'll see you next week. In the meantime, post your wins, post questions, and I'll try and get back to you. Thanks so much.